Hi, welcome to the 14th flashback. This is the first episode introducing some of the best biographical films. First, we have a film about Napoleon Bonaparte, a military commander of Italian descent who became deeply connected to France. He was an eyewitness to the French Revolution and even saw the execution of Marie Antoinette firsthand. Napoleon participated in key battles of the Revolution and gained fame for his military prowess. He is considered one of the most important political and military figures in French history, and possibly even in the world. Napoleon rose to power through strategic maneuvering, eventually declaring himself emperor. He expanded the French Empire, conquering territories from Africa to Russia. In a short time, he transformed France into the largest empire of his era. He was also responsible for the deaths of 3 to 6 million people in the wars he initiated. This film covers Napoleon's journey from his early years as a military commander, showcasing his conquests and political successes. It also delves into his private life, based on historical records. Ridley Scott directs the film, with Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby starring. The film has a runtime of 2 hours and 7 minutes, and is considered a historical epic. It's suitable for viewers over 14 or 15 years old. I'd rate the film as good. It's definitely an entertaining watch, especially for a first viewing by a general audience.
You bury your doubts, you bury your memories of the war. But at the core of your being, we're all cowards before death.
Only 2 days after the start of World War II, C.S. Lewis, who would later become a famous writer, meets the renowned German psychologist Sigmund Freud. Freud had recently fled Nazi-occupied Germany and relocated to London. The film focuses solely on this brief meeting, lasting just a few hours, and doesn't delve deeply into Freud's private life or background. In fact, there isn't much available information about Freud's private life to begin with. However, during their conversation, some general details emerge about Freud's views on God and religion, as well as insights into his personal life, particularly his relationship with his daughter Anna, who was a lesbian. This meeting was apparently Freud's last, as he ended his life a few weeks later by requesting a morphine injection from a colleague to end the unbearable suffering caused by terminal jaw cancer. Matthew Brown directed the film, with Anthony Hopkins, Matthew Good, and Liza Faris starring. The film has a runtime of 2 hours and doesn't belong to a specific genre. It's suitable for a family setting, though I would consider it an average film with a very specific audience, those interested in Freud's life and character. The next film focuses on Norma Jean, a young girl who endured emotional and physical abuse from her mentally ill mother during childhood. She never imagined that she would grow up to become one of the most famous figures in film history and a symbol of beauty, femininity, and sex worldwide. Known by her stage name, Marilyn Monroe, she faced harsh realities in the film industry from the start of her career. Norma Jean's story is a tragic tale of a woman who became a victim of the media's insatiable thirst for fame and attention, all while facing humiliation, confusion, and deep disappointment. Directed by Andrew Dominik, the film stars Ana de Armas as Marilyn Monroe, delivering a truly impressive performance. Bobby Cannavale, Adrian Brody, and Julian Nicholson also appear in the film. One of the producers is Brad Pitt. With a runtime of 2 hours and 6 minutes, the film is a psychological drama. It's a really good film that I highly recommend to those interested in Marilyn Monroe's personal life, as well as to discerning film enthusiasts. Attending a New Year's party, dining at an aristocratic table in a candle-lit room, with live music playing and guests from the nobility gathered in a luxurious palace, is likely a dream for many ordinary people. However, living in such conditions as Diana Frances Spencer, or Princess Diana of Wales, is not as ideal or glamorous as it might seem. The film Spencer portrays Princess Diana's struggles with the royal lifestyle, a life she never chose but was forced into because of her birth as a princess. She endured a short life filled with pomp and complex protocols. Her challenges included strained relationships with her mother and her husband, Charles, the current King of Britain. Even her love for her two sons, William and Harry, couldn't alleviate the sorrow she carried. Directed by Pablo Larraín, the film stars Kristen Stewart, Sean Harris, Jack Farthing, Timothy Spall, and Sally Hawkins. With an approximate runtime of 2 hours, Spencer falls under the psychological drama genre, similar to the previous film discussed. While suitable for family viewing, the film might lack broader appeal, and in my opinion, it is a rather ordinary film. With some leniency, it could be considered good, but ultimately it has a very specific audience, those interested in Princess Diana's personal life.
No. Oh. Oh.
Next, the film Capone focuses on the infamous gangster Al Capone, once regarded as the most feared criminal in Chicago and across the United States. At around 30, he was sentenced to 11 years in prison, not for his crimes, but for tax evasion. After serving his sentence, Capone, suffering from syphilis, experienced a dramatic decline in mental and physical health. His condition was so severe that he lost control of his bowel movements. Despite this, he remained under FBI surveillance, as they were unsure whether his deteriorating condition was genuine or a facade. He had once claimed to have hidden $10 million before his imprisonment, but his failing memory meant he could no longer recall its location. Directed by Josh Trank, the film stars Tom Hardy, Linda Cardellini, Jack Lowden, Neville Fisher, Matt Dillon, and Kyle MacLachlan. With a runtime of 1 hour and 44 minutes, Capone fits within the gangster film genre and is suitable for family viewing by teens, 13 and older. While the film's subject matter is intriguing, I found it to be rather ordinary. However, it could be recommended for a one-time viewing to those interested in the life of Al Capone. Directed by Fernando León de Aranoa, the film stars Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz. With a runtime of 2.5 hours, it belongs to the gangster genre and is not suitable for family viewing. It is a good film, and both general audiences and discerning film lovers are likely to enjoy it.
Oh, come on, Ray. You can't be the great modernizer 1 minute and try
Call
to turn
Hitchcock.
us.
Turn him down publicly. We'll make a show of how happy you are here. You're permanently retiring from acting.
Why? Because de Gaulle says so?
Because I say so.
That's not your decision to make.
I'm your husband.
I won't do it, Ray.
Next, Grace of Monaco tells the story of Grace Kelly, a former Hollywood star, who is now the wife of Rainier Louis Henry, the King of Monaco. As the First Lady of Monaco, Grace is caught between two difficult situations. Her former director offers her a role in his new film Marnie, while Charles de Gaulle, the leader of France, pressures Monaco to be absorbed into France. Grace must decide whether to help resolve the political crisis with her husband, or return to her former life as a movie star. Directed by Olivier Dahan, the film stars Nicole Kidman, Tim Roth, Frank Langella, Parker Posey, Derek Jacobi, and Paz Vega. With a runtime of 1 hour and 43 minutes, it doesn't belong to the family genre, but it can be watched in a family setting. In my opinion, the film is quite ordinary and may not appeal to general audiences or those specifically interested in this political and artistic figure.
کتابا ننوشته شده من که پیدا نکردم اون نمیده باید
By Allah, not another Jew.
Better a studious Jew than a lazy, overprivileged Persian loudmouth.
Set in the 11th century, during the medieval era when ignorance and religion dominated Europe and England, the film follows Robert the Bruce, a poor assistant to a barber. At that time, barbers performed not only hairdressing, but also medical tasks such as surgery and tooth extraction. Robert learns about a skilled physician in Persia, Ibn Sina, who is considered the best doctor of the time. Disguised as a Jew to bypass religious restrictions, Robert travels to Persia in search of Ibn Sina and attempts to convince him to take him on as an apprentice. Directed by Philip Stoltz, the film stars Ben Kingsley, Tom Paine, Stellan Skarsgård, Olivier Martinez, and Amar Rigby. With a runtime of 2 hours and 30 minutes, it is a historical drama suitable for family viewing. I believe this film is suitable for general audiences.
I have received the king.
The younger son of George V, King of Britain, who is uneasy in public and struggles with his speech. When his father dies, Albert's older brother David ascends to the throne. However, due to British law, David is unable to marry a woman who had been divorced twice. David renounces the throne, and Albert becomes the new king during a time when Britain has just declared war on Nazi Germany. To address his stuttering problem, Albert seeks the help of a skilled speech therapist. Directed by Tom Hooper, the film stars Colin Firth, Geoffrey Rush, Helena Bonham Carter, Guy Pearce, Timothy Spall, Derek Jacobi, and Jennifer Eel. With a runtime of 2 hours, it is a historical drama that can be watched in a family setting. This is a good film for both general audiences and discerning film enthusiasts, especially those interested in this period of British history. It may also appeal to those concerned about stuttering, as it highlights the challenges faced by those with the condition.
Is it true we're in full retreat?
All our forces are now at Dunkirk, where we cannot reach them.
They're pushing us into the sea.
The tyrants.
In 1940, as European politicians were entangled in World War II due to their appeasement of Nazi Germany, and France was rapidly falling, several Berlin politicians still advocated for peace negotiations with Germany. During this time, Winston Churchill began strongly opposing the conservative politicians and worked to gain power as the new prime minister. He carefully built support for the idea of attacking Nazi Germany, drawing on his vast political experience from World War I to gain American support and unite British politicians. Churchill's goal was not only to avoid surrender and peace negotiations, but also to lead Britain in the fight against the Nazi regime. Directed by Joe Wright, the film stars Gary Oldman, Kristin Scott Thomas, Lily James, Stephen Dillon, Roland Muller, and Ben Mendelsohn. With a runtime of 2 hours and 5 minutes, it is a historical drama. This film can be watched in a family setting, although it might be more appealing to audiences interested in Winston Churchill's character or British history during that particular time period. Alright, we've reached the jumping popcorn section, where I'll briefly introduce a few films that, in my opinion, you haven't missed much by not watching them. This section starts with Oppenheimer, directed by Christopher Nolan and released in 2023, starring Cillian Murphy. Despite the buzz it generated, I didn't find it to be a worthwhile film. It could have easily made it into the main section as one of the top 10 films. But due to the usual controversies surrounding Nolan's promotions, I've chosen to place it here as a not-so-good film. Next is Lincoln, directed by Steven Spielberg in 2012, starring Daniel Day-Lewis. It portrays the biography of one of the most important American presidents. I found this film quite boring as well. Then we have The Iron Lady, 2011, directed by Phyllida Lloyd, with Meryl Streep portraying Margaret Thatcher. If you haven't seen it, you really haven't missed much. Invictus, 2009, directed by Clint Eastwood, features Morgan Freeman and Matt Damon. This biopic about Nelson Mandela is slightly better than the previous films, but still, not much to rave about. For those interested in historical biographical films, Che, 2008, directed by Steven Soderbergh, and starring Benicio del Toro as Che Guevara, is worth mentioning. Unfortunately, I found it to be long and boring, and it doesn't provide a compelling biography of this political and military figure. Next, Queen 2006, directed by Stephen Frears and starring Helen Mirren as Queen Elizabeth II, was a disappointment. I don't recommend watching it as it's quite boring. Elizabeth 1998, directed by Shekhar Kapoor and starring Kate Blanchett, is a much better film about the Queen of England during the 16th century. This is actually one of the few films in this section that I can recommend for its relative quality. Malcolm X, 1992, directed by Spike Lee, features Denzel Washington as the famous civil rights leader. While it's a significant part of contemporary American history, I didn't find the film very engaging. If you're specifically interested in Malcolm X and want to learn about him, you might still want to check it out. Gandhi, 1982, directed by Richard Attenborough and starring Ben Kingsley, is one of the most famous films about the Indian leader. However, I found it to be long and rather dull, making it more suitable for a specific audience. Finally, Young Lincoln, 1939, directed by John Ford, starring Henry Fonda, is a classic black and white film. If you're a fan of classic cinema, particularly John Ford's works, and want to see a biopic of Lincoln before his presidency, this film is worth a watch. Well, dear friends, this concludes the first part of my list of the best biographical films. There are 3 more parts to come, as I mentioned. The titles and release years are listed in the description. I'd love to hear your thoughts or any other films you think belong in the biographical genre. Feel free to share your opinions, and I'll be happy to include them in future lists. Stay healthy, happy, and well until the next flashback. Goodbye.
Oh, feel the breeze from the subway? Isn't it delicious?
Sort of cools the ankles, doesn't it? What do you think would be fun to do now?
Cut!